to be looking at specifying updates in SQL. In the previous videos linked below the like button in the playlist, we have a bunch more of our database management systems SQL just starting this out. So that'll prepare for that. And soon we're going to be looking at some code for this. But for this one, we're looking at a very important topic where we have insert, delete, and update. So there are 3 SQL commands to modify our database, and we have them here. So in our first example, let's say we want to insert into our employee. So this is going to be like our table right here. And then we have the values. And so inside of our values, we have our name. This is like the last name or first name. Let's just say this is our first name. We have our K, middle initial. We have our last name, social security number, and so on and so forth. If we have no data for a specific part, like let's say they didn't have an address. Let's say they're between places right now, and they didn't know exactly which one their address is. We can just write null for inside of here. Now, we must follow the order for this. This is going for a tuple. So in a tuple, it's a row. We have to put everything together from left to right. We must follow the order in here. This is for example 1. Now, example 2 is the same exact thing. We just have a little bit less for example purposes, but let's say we want to insert into our employees, right? Well, inserting into our employees, we would specify the first name, last name, social security number, and dno, which is like the department number. So we would do insert into employee, have this all inside of here, and then we have values. And so for this one, we are going to have the names. So like Richard, Marini, and then we have our social security number and the department number. So this is going to be inserting inside of here. We have our values, and everything checks out for here. We can see that I capitalized everything inside of here. Just insert into employee and values, and same thing for this one. That's just because they were capitalized in the notes, so they should be capitalized here. And just because they're like system generated, I don't think that they matter, but we'll just leave them capitalized for this. Now, for this lower one right here, where we have it in order, first name, last name, social security number, dno, we must include an attribute if the attribute is specified as not null and has no default value. So this is something where we cannot have a null. We have to include everything, but that's pretty easy because we specify what we're going to be putting inside of here. This one does not need order. So other attributes inside of our tuple would be set to like default or null. So we have all of these other different parts right here, right? In this one, now we don't include them in here. So everything else is going to be set to null that we don't specify already. So whatever we include, we have to actually write into though. We have another example, but this is for a query, and this will be touched on in a later video that'll be in the playlist link below the like button. Same thing with this one. Now we're going to be going over delete. So in our delete, we have some examples right here. So our U4A, we delete from and where. Delete from, we have employee. This talks about our table. So this is deleting from our employee table. Where is wherever we have the last name Brown. So we will continuously check through all of our tuples from the top to the bottom until we find the last name Brown, and all the Browns for last names are going to be removed. And then we have the same thing for U4B, but for SSN. And then we have our U4C, which is a query, and we will have to come back to this one. And then our U4D is where we delete from the employee. So this one is just going to delete everything inside of here, all of our tuples. So it says delete from employee. We don't have any domain, so that means everything inside of here will be deleted. However, the attribute is still going to remain, so all these attributes are still going to be inside of here. Now, the way we would get rid of our first name, middle initial, last name, social security number, and so on and so forth is going to be how we would use drops. And that's in the previous video in the playlist link below the like button. We would just drop these columns. So we want to specify the table name, specify which type will be deleted. For the U4D, it's going to delete all tuples for this attribute. If there is, and again, if the attribute is still there, we want to remove this with our drop tables. We also have an update, and this is where we want to change the location and control department number of project number 10 to like Bel Air and 5 respectively. So let's say we want to update. We want to go to our table project, where we set the project location to be Bel Air and the D number to be 5. And we can include more in here if we wanted to update. And this is where our project number is 10. So we update wherever the P number is 10. Now we need to be careful, because if we have multiple P numbers that are 10, multiple projects that have like 10 inside of it, well, it's going to update all of them. And this might not be something that we want. So we can have an and or an or, and this is the same with delete. So inside of our delete, we have our where. We could add more conditions inside of here. And these conditions may help with specifying what we want to do. We have an example down here, but this is for queries, and we'll touch that on a future video that will be in the playlist below the like button. That's going to be it for this section. Next, we're going to be looking more at our query nodes.